Okay, well, I see it's 7 o'clock, and one thing that I've always believed in is starting on time. Rotarians are known for being punctual, and I don't believe in punishing people that are on time for those that are going to join late. So we're going to get started on time. So thank you all of you for joining tonight. I'm, as you know, not Rob Wolfson. Rob had other commitments, so I'm a fill-in. So we are absolutely delighted and privileged to have Leslie Williams from AGLC join us tonight. Um, Leslie is I've got it here. I want to get your formal title. You're the licensing supervisor of raffle charitable gaming proceeds. You've been with AGLC for a long time, 30
Thir-
years, 20,
32
32.
years,
Excellent.
ever since integration.
Okay, so you're a wealth of knowledge. So thank you so much for taking your valuable time and sharing it with us tonight. We have a wonderful turnout. I've lost count already as to how many people are signing in, but this is a topic that I think is very, very near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. And and again, thank you to all of you that have taken the time to go and send questions in well in advance. So hopefully, Leslie, you're going to be able to, you also got those questions. So hopefully in your presentation, you're going to be able to address some of those. And with everybody's indulgence, we're going to let Leslie do her presentation, and then we'll open it up later because again, hopefully she'll address a lot of the questions that came in already in her presentation. Now, one other thing, before I turn it over to Leslie, I would ask everybody to make sure that you're on mute, please. That way we don't get any disturbance with background noise and so on. So if you'd be kind enough to put yourselves on mute. And with that, Leslie, thank you again for joining us, and I'm going to turn it over to you. Take us away, Leslie.
Well, thank you very, very much. And thank you for the invitation to be here and provide some guidance specific to Rotary clubs. And there's a number of areas that we'd like to cover tonight. I don't have anything that's a formal presentation of such, but I've had the opportunity to speak with a handful of Rotary clubs from your area not too long ago. And I think it went very, very well. I think I'll just sort of do this in two parts. I will address the gaming licensing questions the best that I can, because a lot of it does surround casino. I started in casino. I know just enough today to be dangerous about it, but I think I can muddle my way through. There's also some raffle inquiries. And there's some other inquiries surrounding eligibility and timing and wait times of casinos, which I'll address. And then I will get into the use of proceeds, which I think will be sort of the bulk of our conversation, because that's really what I think really hits home for all of the Rotary clubs on. We had massive changes to the use of proceeds policy on April 1st. And now it's a matter, how do you navigate those changes? And but for the most part, I'm very, very familiar with what the Rotary clubs do and how they've traditionally utilized their gaming funds. So I'm happy to help on that. So I'll start with casinos. All of you, I'm assuming, at least the majority of everyone in attendance tonight, their clubs hold casino events. I see that we've got some people from outside of Calgary, so your casinos would be held in the facility in Calgary that is for the rural groups. My apologies. You know, the casino facilities, I'll be honest, they change their names so often. I can't keep up with all of their name changes, but you know who you are and which facilities you attend. So nothing's really changed on the casino front. It's a matter that, you know, for the most part, if I just sort of speak about Calgary in of itself, you're still looking at about 24 months in between your casinos. That hasn't, that's held pretty steady for quite a long time. The returns on your casinos, I always ballpark, it's around maybe 75 or $80,000. And I'm not as familiar with what the casino pool payout is for Calgary Rural. But I know it's a wee bit less. So, like I said, there's nothing that's changed. I know there's been some concern about providing volunteers at casinos. That has not changed. It is still a requirement. And I know there's been some talk, I suppose, with perhaps eliminating volunteers at casinos and replacing those positions with paid casino staff. But I can tell you right now that that is not something that is actively in the works. And quite frankly, it would Alberta has a very unique, what we refer to as the charitable gaming model. Alberta is the one province in all of Canada that holds this model, and it's where the charities are actually the ones that are technically responsible for the conduct and management of that licensed gaming event. Whether you are at a casino, whether or not you're doing a bingo or a raffle, we are licensing the charity to conduct that event. If there is no licensed charity in that casino facility, then essentially the casino doesn't operate. Other than the slot machines, the tables are shut down. And we never, ever, ever, ever want that, because that will affect the pool payout for all of the groups in that particular quarter. So charities and their volunteers are the ones responsible to operate all of those licensed gaming events. That is what our charitable gaming model is all about. There's a number of other provinces where the province, the government actually operates the casino facilities, and they operate the bingo facilities, and charities are applying for grants. We do not have a granting model. That's not the Alberta way. So, like I said, I do know that there's been some chatter out there, and this has been raised at a number of different meetings that myself and my colleagues have presented, and that's all it is. It's just chatter. So there's no merit to any of that at this point in time. So you still have to come up with your volunteers every couple of years. And you want to make sure that your membership, that you are maintaining a minimum of 25 voting members for your membership, because that is part of your eligibility. So there is that, which is important, and I don't think any one of the clubs have that issue. So that's on the casino side. I'm just going to reference some of the questions here. There was a question with respect to how long is the waiting list to get onto the casino program. So if there's a new group coming in and they've been deemed eligible to conduct a licensed casino event, wherever it is that they are to conduct that event, they are just part of that waiting time for that particular area, because they're all slightly different. Edmonton and Calgary are about the same, 24 months-ish, but you can get out to other areas within the province and you could be waiting up to 3.5, almost 4 years. The bringing on of new groups, yes, sure. That can impact, but I don't have the stats on the number of groups we approve annually for licensed gaming events. For casinos and bingos, it's not as substantial as you may think. And when you take maybe 100 or 200 groups that are deemed eligible in a year and spread those out over the province, it doesn't have a huge significant impact to the current wait list. Hope that makes sense. We can touch on questions afterwards about that. That's all I can really share based on the questions that I see on casinos. I'll just touch on raffles, which is another one of my areas. I know I've got some Rotary groups that are involved with raffles, some large raffles, some small raffles. There was a question about limits or rules on different areas, and I'll be honest, one of the best things you can do is for the full scope and the full detail, because I could do an entire session just on raffles. I'm hoping all of you have heard of our GAIN program. It's an educational program that AGLC developed way back in 2005, and they provide exceptional online sessions. They do raffle sessions. They do use of proceed sessions, as well as casino and bingo. If you haven't done one lately, I would highly recommend you consider it, especially for any new members or new executives to your board. They're a wealth of information. So raffles, just sort of on the real high scale, if you are going to conduct a raffle that has a total ticket value of $20,000 or less, and the total ticket value is calculated based on the number of tickets you have available for sale multiplied by the price of the ticket. So if you have 1,000 tickets available for sale and the tickets are $2 each, you've got a total ticket value of $2,000. I am not the mathematician in this conversation. We'll just let you know that now. So I'm going to work in small numbers. And so all of our licenses for raffles are issued based on total ticket value. Small raffle licenses under 20,000 total ticket value. All the charities, they can obtain those licenses themselves online through your internet account at no charge. They're as fast as you can type in the information, that license, you can issue your own license. Raffle licenses with a total ticket value over $20,000. That is an application process, and the application needs to be submitted to our office, complete with all the required information, a minimum of 8 weeks prior to the date that you require the license number or the start of your ticket sales. I did have a question about the lead time for the approval process, and I really ask that you submit the applications at least 8 weeks in advance. We have an amazing raffle licensing team. Raffle licensing is extraordinarily busy, and raffles are very complex. And it can take quite some time for our specialists to review the application and make sure that everything is as it should be. And there's a lot of assistance and education with our groups for raffles, because unlike a casino or a bingo, you're on your own. All the hard work and all the organization and everything that goes along with the raffle is done by all of you wonderful volunteers. So we really try and help and make sure that, you've got all your I's dotted and your T's crossed, and that you will run a very successful event. There was some question about 50-50 draws. as well as it says here gifted items to be won in a lottery style draw. So again, that's a raffle, but it's just a raffle that is awarding merchandise prizes as the prize, as opposed to the cash, the 50-50. And it really depends on what type of format that you would like to do. Big or small? Do you want to run it for a long period of time or just a short period of time? Um, uh, do you want to get away from having to secure prizes and do cash raffles? Cash raffles are generally they're no risk to the organization because the prize is based on ticket sales, a percentage of the ticket sales. So there's a lot of different types of raffles that you can do. And it just really depends on what your vision is, what it is that what you're thinking of doing, how big you want to do it, how long you want to run the raffle for. There's just so many variables. And if it's something that your club is very interested in or has been doing and would like a little bit more information, please feel free to reach out to me. And I'm happy to walk you through to see, help you with whatever it is that your vision is and try and help you, um, you know, get licensed in the best way. Um, let's see. Costs, expenses associated with the raffle. Um, I was mentioning earlier, raffles or licenses are based on total ticket value, issued based on total ticket value. The expenses cannot exceed 30% of the total ticket value. So eligible expenses would include printing your tickets, bank charges, advertising, marketing, of course, the cost of your prizes, unless you're doing cash, um, all those types of things. If it's something that requires to be insured, if you're going all out and you're doing a car raffle or something like that, and these items need to be insured, that's an eligible expense. The expenses are whatever the costs are in order to operate and conduct the raffle. Our raffle terms and conditions are very good, and they itemize different examples of eligible expenses very well. So the expenses can't exceed 30%. Your prizes must be a minimum 20% of the total ticket value. I will just touch on one thing because it is the most popular way to conduct a raffle right now, and that's selling your tickets electronically. We call it the electronic raffle system. You can do that. If you want to do it, you must engage a registered AGLC registered ERS gaming supplier, of which we have a list and we're happy to share. Have used a company such as Rafflebox, for example. So that's an ERS gaming supplier, and simply what they do for you, and this is their only function, is they provide a platform for ticket sales, the payment transaction. Then they can electronically email the ticket to the buyer. Then usually what happens is groups will use a random number generator to conduct the draw. So this is all paperless, essentially, if that's the way you'd like to go. So you no longer have to print the actual tickets. It can all be done electronically. When you engage an ERS gaming supplier, that is their only function. They in no way are responsible for the conduct and management of that raffle. That is still the responsibility of the charity, which is very, very important because a lot of them present it as though you don't have to do anything and you just wait and wait for the check to come in the mail. That is the farthest thing from the truth. So I always like my groups to make sure that, they understand that they are still completely and utterly responsible for the conduct and management of that raffle. So I still say that ability, the electronic version is still quite new. We've had it since 2018, so it's getting more and more advanced as time goes on, and the ERS gaming suppliers, they have a lot of really great grand ideas. But we have to be aware that they are registered, generally, most of them, they're registered across the country. And what can be done in Ontario may not be able to be done in Alberta. So if you're not sure, call us and we'll let you know whether or not whatever it is that sounds different or unusual, if it's something that's eligible and can be done in Alberta, give us a call. We'd rather you give us a call and have it right than potentially do it wrong. And so we're here for you no matter what. So that's
Leslie,
really,
if you don't mind, I'm just going to interject
yes,
quickly. Just to remind everybody again, if you be kind enough to put yourself on mute, and I can see everybody, and there's only one person that's not on mute, and that's Jack Van Delden. Sir, if you'd be kind enough to put yourself on mute. Thank you. And I want to also remind everybody that this whole session is being recorded and it's being added to our District 5360 YouTube channel. So if you are missing some of the points today, it's still going to be available for you a little bit later. And now, Leslie, if you'd be kind enough, let's not confuse raffles. One thing that seems to get a lot of attention are 50-50 draws. So if you'd be kind enough to touch on those, we're getting a lot of questions on use of proceeds. And thank you all again for your questions in the chat box. And we're going to turn it over to Darcy eventually to try to herd the cats and keep control of the chat box. But I just wanted to interject so that we know where things are going. So thank you for that, Leslie, and back to you.
yes, absolutely. I see there's a lot of questions in the chat, and there's questions that area that we quite haven't touched on yet, which is the use of gaming proceeds, which is where I'm going to jump to next after I provide a little bit more information on 50-50s. So
Leslie,
50-50s.
can I jump in for just a second? So just
Sure.
following up on Vince's note, what we'll do is if you've got questions, throw them in the chat. And then Leslie, when you're done, you let me know and I'll start going through the questions with you.
Sure, absolutely. Just really quickly on the 50-50s. 50-50s are referred to as percentage draws in raffle terms and conditions. I think what we're most familiar with is at sporting events. You go to the sporting event, you've got people selling 50-50 tickets, either the printed tickets, or maybe it's just the dollar store tickets, or maybe they're tickets online. Essentially, what happens for a 50-50, a true 50-50, is everything starts and ends at that event. The ticket sales start at that event. Tickets are sold, and then there is a draw. and it's usually done at some point before that event is over. The draw takes place. The number is announced because you do not have to obtain the name and contact information of the ticket buyer. So the only thing that you have in your hand is a ticket with a number on it. You announce that number and you have to give the winner a minimum of 10 minutes to come forward. If no one comes forward within 10 minutes, you can do another draw, and you can continue to do that cycle until you have a winner come forward. Or you can do it once, no one comes forward, it's an unclaimed prize. And that money then reverts back to the charity into their gaming bank account. 50/50s are also confused with cash raffles, whereby you're selling tickets over a period of time, and the prize is 50% of the total ticket revenue sold. That's a cash raffle. 50/50s are usually everything starts and ends at that event, and they use what we call a bearer ticket. If you're going to sell tickets over a period of time, then you have to establish an actual ticket as per our terms and conditions. It's the 2-part ticket. There's a stub that goes into the draw barrel, and then there's the other portion that goes to the ticket buyer. And it has the license number, the ticket number, the date of the draw, the description of the prize, etc., etc. So you can sell tickets over a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, whatever your choice is, and then you would have a final draw, and the winner is simply going to get 50% of the ticket revenue generated over that period of time. That is often also referred to as a 50/50. In actuality, it's simply a cash raffle whereby the prize is 50% of the ticket revenue. Again, I could do an entire session on raffle and 50/50s. Sign up to one of the game sessions. They're free. They're only an hour long. They're online and they're live. And our game presenters are fantastic. If this is something that you wish to explore further, by all means, contact myself or Raffle Licensing, and we're happy to go through the vision that you may be thinking about. So that's really, really high level. I hope that's okay at this point. We'll entertain questions towards the end. Okay. Whew. Let's jump into the use of proceeds, shall we? Well, okay. Let's just start with the basics. For our purposes, Rotary clubs are considered a service club. For the most part, all of our service clubs, they donate a large majority of their gaming funds. So I'll start with donations because it's familiar to all of you. In some way or another, you are all donating to other charities within your community, either big donations or small donations. So we made things easier. April 1st, you can now make a donation up to $25,000 to a non-AGLC registered group without prior approval. We've really cut down the paperwork that you need to send in. So that's pretty significant, right? Now, it also means that it's a lot more responsibility on you to make sure that the group that you're donating to, because they're not registered with AGLC, you need to make sure that they are a group that aligns with our basic eligibility, and the purpose of those funds that you're donating align with our use of proceeds policy. And if you're just not sure, you give us a call and ask us. This is huge. This is a huge change. If you are making a donation to another AGLC registered group, there is no amount. You can donate $150,000 to another AGLC registered group without prior approval. The rationale behind that is that AGLC is aware, based on the financial reporting, when a group receives a donation from another group, because it has to be deposited into their gaming bank account. So you already know when you sign that recipient agreement form, if you happen to be one of those recipients, that you are stating by signing that recipient agreement form that you are going to deposit those funds into your gaming bank account, and you are going to use those funds in accordance with your currently approved use of proceeds. So that's huge. That just cut out reams of paper for both you and I. That's a big one. Now, the donations that you make out of province or out of country, we've increased the thresholds for that. What we did not increase was the percentage of gaming proceeds that you can donate out of province or out of country. So, for example, should you wish to, you can donate up to a maximum 75% of your gaming proceeds out of Alberta, but within Canada. You can, even I have to refresh my memory on the thresholds now. You can donate up to $10,000 outside of the province, but within Canada without prior approval. We increased that from 5,000. If you are making donations outside of the country, the percentage is limited to 50%. So you cannot donate more than 50% of your gaming proceeds outside of Canada. And you can donate up to $5,000 outside of the country without prior approval. This is pretty monumental, these changes to our donations policy for our service clubs, because they are generally the charities that make the most donations generally. So it's a lot less paperwork for you that you need to submit to me or to our office. Now, let's talk about the recipient agreement forms. So I had an inquiry about why are there two and why can't there be one? And we've tried. We really, really did try. But we absolutely must separate the two. The one recipient agreement form is when you are making a donation to another AGLC group, because that is very specific to them, whereby it states by signing that recipient agreement form that they're going to deposit it into their gaming account and use those gaming proceeds as per their currently approved use of proceeds. The other recipient agreement form is when you're making a donation to a group that's not registered with AGLC. So basically you're identifying the group, but one of the most important pieces of that recipient agreement is the recipient group has to describe how they are going to use those gaming proceeds. So remember, if you're making a donation over $25,000 to a non-AGLC registered group, that requires approval. So there are still some things that do require approval. And you must complete the request to amend gaming proceeds form and have your recipient group sign that recipient agreement and submit both to our office for approval. which you're all accustomed to. You've all done it multiple times. Like I said, the only difference is that you're not going to send anything to us for approval. Not anything, not as much, because we've increased the thresholds. So the recipient agreement forms are absolutely essential. If you're making a donation that does not require prior approval, you must retain those recipient agreement forms. I don't want them. Okay, but you have to get them signed, no matter what the amount is. If you're only donating $50, you have to get them to sign that recipient agreement form, and you must retain those forms for your records. So anything over $25,000 to a non-AGLC group, you need prior approval. Anything over $10,000 to a group out of the province but in Canada, you need prior approval. Anything over $5,000 to an organization outside of Canada requires prior approval. Everything else, you're good to go. So those are donations. I do want to touch on the RIPIN, RILA programs, etc. Okay, because for the most part, the majority, if not all, of the Rotary clubs do support those programs, which you can do from gaming funds. Some of you may have, some of you maybe you haven't. The way that we capture that is on your use of proceeds list, you will have a children and youth programs use of proceeds code. And we capture the information under that code. So it's an explanation to all the clubs. But at the end of the day, if you are going to provide support to any of those programs, essentially it's facilitated by way of a donation, either to the district or Rotary International. Okay. Some clubs also support some youth exchange programs, which is fine. It's all good. Most of the expenses associated with that are eligible. Just be wary for if you're hosting or you're dealing with a student that is here from another country. The club can support basically all their expenses, their travel expenses, their boarding expenses, school fees, books, sports activities, etc., etc. You just have to be careful of some of the very personal items, like their personal cell phone, and we had if they have a visa that they needed to get, that's not something that's eligible. Let's see. Bus passes are okay. Some of these students need a bus pass. And cell phones are not okay. And then there's some of the extracurricular events for a lot of the school activities. If they're social and recreational in nature, generally you can't support those costs. And I really don't think the clubs do. For the most part, I think the clubs, when they're supporting these students, and you can please correct me if I'm wrong, it's primarily to cover the transportation, the boarding, the basic necessities, the costs associated with their schooling, etc. I think when it comes down to their own personal social types of expenses, I'm assuming that's something that they're responsible for. But if not, if that's still something that the club supports, at least you know that there's the real big ticket items you can certainly support from gaming funds. So that's what I wanted to touch on, specific to our Rotary clubs. Dues, membership fees. It's always a great topic. A lot of our groups, especially our service clubs, do have dues that need to be paid to a higher body, either provincial or national or international. So, yes, you may use gaming funds to pay those fees, those dues, providing that your members haven't already paid you for that. We kind of call it double dipping. So if you want to keep your membership fees low, because you know it's we hear from so many of our clubs and our service clubs especially that membership is dropping. And one of the reasons why membership is dropping, because a lot of the members can no longer afford the membership fees. So generally speaking, membership fees include whatever it is that is owing as well to your various national, provincial, or international bodies. You can lower your membership fees, and the amount of money that is payable to your higher body, higher authority, you can then pay directly out of your gaming proceeds. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you've got $100 membership fee and $50 of that is what is you collect, and then you then pay upwards, then you've got it covered. But if you want to cut that membership fee down to $50, and then that money goes into your general revenue, that's not gaming funds, right? So you can do whatever you want with that money. And then the other $50 that you would have normally charged your members, you can actually use gaming funds to pay. And I know that's been very helpful to a lot of organizations. So hopefully that helps with that question. And that's not new, but it is something that gets confused very easily. So it's always something that's really nice to be able to capture, and I appreciate the question. There was a mention that the Rotary membership includes a personal development component through the Learning Center. We don't normally drill down that deep into what your membership fees cover. You can't just simply use gaming funds to pay for one or two or three individuals within your club, because that's a personal benefit. But what you can do is you can still, reduce your membership fees and pay for those other dues, like I've already mentioned. I don't dig down into what those dues provide you. We just understand that it is a requirement, and we allow you to pay that from gaming funds. So, I don't know too much about the learning or the personal development component. I don't think I really need to know. Don't give me too much information. sometimes is maybe the better way to approach it. I like to keep things very simple. And when it comes to your use of proceeds, that is my biggest key message to you all. Keep the use of your gaming proceeds as simple and as streamlined as possible. We really encourage groups to please, we hope that gaming proceeds aren't your only source of revenue. I know casinos, especially casinos, get very comfortable. You know, you can pretty much bank on them like clockwork. You know, every 24 months, we're going to have $80,000 deposited into our account, hypothetically. And because it just happens, it just keeps happening and happening, and you get very, very comfortable until there's a disaster, until there's a fire like in Fort McMurray's, or a flood in Calgary many years ago, or COVID, and all of a sudden that 80,000 is missing and you don't have it. So we really encourage all of our groups, and this is just sort of a very high level key message, to make sure that you've got other sources of revenue, and don't have gaming as your only source of fundraising activities. We highly recommend it because we've seen how devastating it is to groups when something happens and goes awry, and all of a sudden the money that they thought they were going to get from a gaming activity just doesn't appear, right? But keep the use of your gaming proceeds very simple. I always say, take a look at what your budget is. Try and use gaming funds on the eligible, what I call the big ticket items in your budget, right? And it will really reduce the amount of reporting you have to do annually on your financial report, right? But or don't, you don't have to do it that way. But we just like to keep things as simple and clean for you as humanly possible. You are all volunteers. This is not the only thing that you do in your life. So, we really don't want to complicate it too much for you. A couple of other questions we had on travel. I know a lot of you attend the international convention every year. And I must say, over my great many years, I'm very impressed in all the wonderful places you've all gone to. They're very, very interesting. You can use gaming funds to attend the Rotary International conventions, no matter where they may be. Huge change in our new policy effective April 1st is that travel no longer requires prior approval. And I know that sounds really exciting, but yet again, what happens is that you still have to comply with our travel policy. So you no longer have to send me that nasty travel itinerary form and a list of, what you're doing every day and who's attending, et cetera, et cetera. You don't need to send that anymore. But none of it's changed. All the eligible expenses and the eligible days and the eligible people remain the same. So even though you don't have to send it in for prior approval, you do want to make sure that you're still following the travel policy. Now, if you're not sure, or if you're concerned, you are more than welcome to submit information to us, and we'll help you through it, and we'll even document it for you on your use of proceeds list. So you've got some comfort knowing that you can use your gaming funds to support the costs associated with the travel. So some of the restrictions would be, you want to make sure that only individuals eligible individuals from your club would be attending, and that those individuals will be in a position to bring information back and share it with the rest of your club. If you are bringing a spouse or a partner, they're not eligible to be supported from gaming funds. Unless, of course, they also hold a position within your club, and they will be attending certain sessions that, you know, will be beneficial to the club. The only days that are eligible would be the days that you get travel the day before. And so you get 2 travel days. Generally, you travel in the day before the convention starts. You've got the days of the convention that are actual days where there's actual sessions or actual meetings. If there are days within that itinerary that are free days or shopping days or sightseeing days, those days are not eligible to be supported from your gaming funds. Okay. So, and that would include any of your meals on those days, etc. Any expenses on those days, they're not eligible. And yeah, registration fees for the convention are eligible. And that's usually about it. Of course, your flights, your transportation, your accommodation, your food, your registration fees. So that's all still okay. But if you're not sure, if you're nervous about it, send it in, and we're happy. There is a like a worksheet on the website for travel that has all that sort of all those areas, those categories broken out. And you're welcome to use that as sort of a worksheet, just for your own as you're trying to budget. And I will be honest, financial review, if they're just not sure, they may ask you to complete that worksheet so they get a better understanding of what the invoices look like. Another misconception with the new policy is just because you don't need prior approval on some of these things, you still have to keep all of the support documentation for the financial report. Very, very, very important. The essence of the policy on the 1st of April was that it's not so much a policy, although there is policy, but it's more guideline based. And essentially what we're saying is that truly our charities know best on how to utilize their gaming funds in order to support their programs that they deliver to the community at large. So essentially, we're looking at the spending has to align with the type of organization you are and the types of programs that you offer to the community. So that's really all we ask. And I think I've really touched the highlights and the high points for the most part when it comes to the use of gaming proceeds for Rotary clubs specifically. We only have about 7 minutes left in the meeting, and that's because I talk too much. I'm sorry. So, because I could talk forever about it all. I'm really passionate about it, and I'm always here to help. My phone line is always open, but I will tell you, I'm on holidays for the next 2 weeks. So,
Okay,
Darcy,
Leslie, if you'd be kind enough to make sure, just mention to everybody either your direct email or your phone number of the office where people can call in. And
yes.
again, reminder everybody, this presentation is taped and it's going to be on our District 5360 YouTube channel. And I know we've only got a few minutes left. Darcy's going to try to get as many questions in the chat box and off box as possible. So Leslie, your number, contact, and then Darcy, take it away.
I'm just putting, oh,
Are you going to put it in the chat, Leslie?
yes, I am.
Okay, Perfect.
Beautiful.
So that
Sorry,
was what I was
Vince.
trying to do. No,
Vince, I
sorry.
have to call you out on this. This
Please.
webinar is being taped.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's go. So one of the things, Leslie, that you a member asked about, going back to one of your earlier statements, is you have to have at least 21 members in your club to apply for a casino.
To apply, yes. So eligibility, there's just, if it's a brand new group applying for the very first time, holding a casino, they go through eligibility. And part of that eligibility process is membership. And it's a requirement to have a minimum of 25 voting members, but it's also a requirement to sustain that. And every once in a while, we'll kind of jump in and check in with groups and say, okay, just a reminder, do you have this minimum number of voting members as part of your organization? So it is something that is a requirement for first eligibility with AGLC, specifically casino, but it is something that you also are responsible to maintain. And if you have any concerns about that, if by chance your club doesn't have that minimum, my recommendation is to reach out to our eligibility team at AGLC and have a conversation with them.
Very good. Thank you. Second question is are all AGLC generated dollars treated the same from an AGLC use of proceeds perspective?
Great question. The answer is yes.
Okay.
If it's casino, bingo, to us, it's all one big pot of the same gaming money. There's no special way to spend your casino funds versus your raffle funds. I know they're in different bank accounts because that's a necessity, but the use of proceeds applies to all of it collectively.
Terrific. Thank you. Are there any licensing requirements for silent auctions?
No. Silent
Okay.
auctions are not a raffle, just like guessing the number of jelly beans in a jar is not a raffle.
Perfect. What is the criteria for filling volunteer positions at a casino?
Well, they don't have to all be members of the group. The key positions must be filled by actual members of the organization. But your chip runners and, I'm a little rusty, you guys, so, or your cash cage workers or your count room workers, yeah, they're just regular volunteers. The intention is that you've got enough volunteers in your organization that'll be able to work the casino, and that's one of the reasons for that minimum requirement of 25, just so you know. But and it's tough, it's 2 very long days. And there's I don't know offhand how many volunteers you need per day or how many per shift per day. But it's a fair few. And you can have friends and family assist as well. And all you need to do is part of the final application for your casino. There's the volunteer worker application form that all the volunteers have to complete and submit with the casino license application.
Very good. Thank you. Can you, I'm scared to ask this question. Are there licensing requirements for the weekly 50-50 at club meetings?
Yes.
Yes. You betcha. I'll tell you what a raffle is. A raffle is consideration, chance, and prize. Those are 3 elements. And if ever you are selling tickets for the opportunity to win a prize, it's a raffle and it requires a license, no matter where you are or what you're doing.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you decide to do a little 50-50 at your monthly board meeting or something like that, Technically, I'm obligated to tell you that you must have a license.
So I'm going to ask you a follow-up question on that. Would a club be able to apply for an annual license instead of applying for 40 individual weekly 50/50 licenses?
You absolutely may. Yes. And you decide, what the average ticket sales are on a weekly basis. You might only need a small raffle license, but yes, you can pull that license for how many weeks in a year you meet or how many months in a year you meet, but you can do it under one license for that term.
Okay, very good. I'm mindful of time and I'm going to keep going. Do you have some extra time, Leslie, if we go over?
I do. Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to keep going then. Let's talk a little bit about use of proceeds again, and
Sure.
just maybe a clarifying question. If Rotarians wanted to go to your website,
Yes.
there is on your website a list of the use of proceeds, so they can look up any use of proceeds that you have. And I assume that some of the restrictions for those use of proceeds differ from AGLC or from organization to organization. Is that accurate?
No, not
Okay.
quite. Let me start with the first reference. So, you can, all of our information is on our website at AGLC, .ca. Sorry. I was trying to think, what is it? AGLC.ca. The use of proceeds is in the charitable gaming policies, IES handbook, section 4. So that's online. You can open that up. You can read through the different areas. We also have guideline sheets for use of proceeds on various subjects, especially donations. So it's a quick guideline sheet. No, our use of proceeds are across the board. We don't have special use of proceeds for service clubs versus school groups, versus hospital foundations. You'll notice that our use of proceeds, they're quite broad because in actuality, and we've always had this issue, is that we have this huge world of all types of charities, and we're trying to apply a policy that fits everybody's needs. So, the use of proceeds, the basic foundational interpretation of the policy, essentially it applies to all groups. Not all groups need travel. Not all groups will make donations. So we wind up customizing somewhat, if you will, based on the charity and who they are and what they do and what their programs are. But the use of proceeds codes that you all see on your use of proceeds list are the same for everybody, right? We can just sort of customize it and put in or make comments, depending on the group and what their needs are.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Online sessions, are they available through the AGLC website?
Yes. It's GAIN, GAIN. You can just search GAIN on the website and all the information will come up. So the best thing is just to, I believe there's a phone number that you can call. Their schedule should be online as well. You do have to register, but there's no cost. They only register so they know how many people will be attending that particular session. And a lot of them are at lunchtime. They're only 1 hour. And we highly recommend that all of our executive members, especially our executive members of all of our charities, attend the GAIN sessions that are relevant to them.
Very good. Thank you. So during the course of the evening, you used the term prior approval several times.
Yes.
Just want to confirm that when you use that term, do you mean prior approval before spending proceeds?
Yes, please.
Or does that mean something different?
No, it does not. So prior approval means that the categories identified under section 4.4 in the Charitable Gaming Policies Handbook, those are all the spending that require prior approval, which means you need to submit it to us first before you write the check. You submit it to us, we approve it, we update your use of proceeds list accordingly, and then you are good to go to write that check.
Very good. Thank you. You also made reference to some significant changes that happened in April. Was that April 2025 or is that for April 2026?
My apologies. It was this past April, April 1st, 2025. We did try and notify all the groups that we had communication contact emails for. As well, the information is always on our website. So it was very significant. It was if you have the version prior to, and it's the Charitable Gaming Policies Handbook again, it used to be section 5, section 4 and 5. We've condensed the use of proceeds policy down to section 4. So we amalgamated section 4 and 5 of the old policy under 1, and we have simply formatted the policy as key principles, which is provides you sort of a laundry list of areas that are absolutely 100% not eligible. And then there's the list of use of gaming proceeds that do not require prior approval. So essentially, everybody has those use of proceeds codes on their use of proceeds list. Then section 4.4 is a list of categories that do require prior approval. So that's how it's been reformatted. And as I briefly mentioned earlier, pardon me, the philosophy behind the change, the very dramatic change, is that giving a lot more autonomy to the charities to decide for themselves how they would like to use their gaming proceeds, and reducing the amount of paperwork and requests that they need to submit to us for prior approval. So we're stepping back and we're giving a lot more to the charities to decide, which sounds lovely, but it also, I always caution the charities, even though you don't have to run as much past us, you don't have to submit as much information to us, for prior approval, you're still responsible to make sure that you're still spending those funds in accordance with our policy, right? We're stepping back and we're letting you do that and decide it on your own. So if you're just not sure, we've had a lot of groups a little uncomfortable with that. And a lot of groups have embraced it and go, woo, that's great. But we still have some groups that are quite nervous about it because they're a little anxious about, oh, is this okay? They don't want, they don't want when they do their financial report to be told that they have to redeposit a whole bunch of money because in actuality, it wasn't okay. So our message to all of our charities is that if you're just not sure, don't ever hesitate to reach out and contact us. And we're more than happy to let you know that it's good, bad, or indifferent.
Very good. Thanks. Good question here. If paying convention fees with gaming funds,
Yep.
do the fees need to be paid directly to the vendor, Or can the member incur the expense and be reimbursed with AGLC dollars?
Members can be reimbursed. We know that sometimes that's just the way it has to be. I think the members are responsible for their own registration, I think, in a lot of cases, and their own flight arrangements, et cetera, et cetera. And when a charity is going to assist with some of those expenses, every charity is different on what that looks like. We'd like to keep it to a minimum. But if you are going to reimburse someone for eligible expenses, you are responsible to make sure that you get the support documentation from them, the invoices, et cetera, to support the reimbursement to them. And financial review could very well ask for that information.
Perfect, thank you. You made reference during the meeting about donations through Rotary. Does that ring a bell?
I think when I was talking about the RIPAN and whatnot programs,
So
right?
can you just clarify that for us
Sure.
again?
So we were very confused many years ago about the programs and whatnot. So we just made it very simple. If any of your clubs are going to support the RIPAN and the RIAC and RILA programs, not a problem. You're welcome to do so. But you're going to do it by way of a donation to either the district or Rotary International.
Okay,
Just to keep it really simple and clean. So it just goes through the regular donation policy process.
perfect, thank you. So you talked about being able to use AGLC dollars to pay either provincial or, in our case, district dues,
Okay.
or RI dues. One of the things that our district does is they charge separately for insurance. Would that be an eligible expense?
No. No,
Okay.
it would. Insurance. So I will, director's liability insurance is eligible under administrative costs. So that's for the directors of the board. That's eligible. If you are organizing an event for the community and you need additional insurance for that event that you are holding, you as a club, it's your event, you've organized it, you're delivering it, et cetera, that's a liability insurance as well, and you are eligible to use gaming funds for that. When it comes to actual insurance for individuals per se, is not exactly sure what that looks like. That would not be eligible. So the board liability, not a problem. Event insurance, okay.
Okay, perfect. So I see Vince and Minot are still here. So that's something that we may just want to have a conversation about a district to make sure the invoices spell that out if clubs are wanting to pay that. Does that seem reasonable, Leslie?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, exactly. I was just, so that liability insurance for the board, that falls under your administrative expenses, maximum 30%.
Mhm.
That's where that falls and is eligible.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So this would be interesting. Can AGLC funds be used to support a club's contribution for a district grant? And so we might need to explain to you what a district grant is.
Yes, please.
All right. But no, I'm going to call on you for that one.
Cole's notes version.
There we go. Sorry, I was looking for the unmute button. Okay.
Mhm.
Clubs are invited to apply for district grants to do projects in their community or internationally. The way it works is the club puts in a minimum, and I think for a district project grant, it's $500 minimum, 2,500 maximum. The district will then match that 3-1. So if a club puts in $2,500 of club funds to do, let's say, a shelter at a park, and they apply for it at the district and it gets approved, and the approval, by the way, goes through the district, but it actually goes to Rotary International for approval. So it gets a very high level of scrutiny. And if that is accepted, then they can get $7,500, making the project a minimum of $10,000. So I guess the question is that $2,500, can that come from AGLC money as club funds?
To go towards the project or
goes
to
towards
write the
project?
check to the
Yeah.
district? I'm
No,
trying to
the-
understand the movement of the money.
Okay. The
Sorry.
movement, okay, this is how the money moves. The district receives funds from the Rotary Foundation
Right.
and it's called district designated funds. And that cash, once all of those projects, because we get a lot of them, they get all bundled into what's called a block grant. When that block of all those projects is approved, the Rotary Foundation moves the money into our district bank account, and our
Okay.
administrator then moves the money to the club's account. And then the
Based on
club
approval of
pays.
the grant.
Yeah. And then the club is responsible for providing a report at the end
Okay.
of all of this, which includes all of the invoices and paid invoices and all of that.
Oh, okay. I'm not so much worried about the grant or the movement of money from the foundation to the district. I'm just going to focus on the club right now, because I always say to everybody, what does this look like from your gaming bank account? So essentially what it is, it's a project that the club would like to use some of their gaming proceeds towards. And if
Correct.
the project is $10,000, the club wants to make sure they can use $2,500 of their gaming proceeds towards the project.
Right.
I'm looking at the project, right? That's what I'm looking at. And generally all of your projects are eligible, right? I do recommend, because with this new policy, it's a little gray. And if it's gray, then I say, send us an email. Send us an email and say, we want to do this project. We're going to install some benches in the park, right? And it's a $5,000 project or something like that. And we want to use $2,500 of our gaming funds towards it. That's all I need to know. And then I can figure out how to approve the project. If it's something that you're doing for a facility or something that's owned by the municipality, I can do it as a community facility enhancement. If it's your own project, right? You're going to build a park or, something like that, then I'm going to capture it as your own project, right? And it's just always nice to know what the total cost of the project is, what exactly the project is, and the other sources of revenue that you have towards that project.
Perfect.
I
Okay.
hope that
now,
helps, because I'm really
yeah.
looking at it from a completely different side of things. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great.
So you provided a great answer to a very complex question, and I'm just going to make the question a little more complex now.
Sure.
So using that example or using that concept of district grants, one of the things that we're required in Rotary to do is we have to qualify for grants
Mhm.
through contributions.
Okay.
Can those contributions be paid with gaming funds?
I'll just qualify that, Darcy. The requirement for the $50 per capita to qualify a club for getting grants, that's a district policy. It's not a Rotary International policy. Other districts do it differently, but that's what we do here.
Okay.
And that fund, that money goes to the Rotary Foundation. So basically, it is a donation. The question would be, can AGLC funding be used to make a donation to the Rotary Foundation?
So I'm going to
Yes.
take a stab at this one, Leslie, to
Sure.
see if I understood what you said.
Okay.
The answer would be yes, you could use AGLC funds within the limits for use of proceeds to charities outside of Alberta, but within Canada.
I attacked it from a different side, Darcy.
All right, go for it.
I looked at I wasn't so concerned about how the district gets the money from the foundation to provide the grants to clubs who have a project in mind. I looked at it strictly from the project, and that the club wants to do a project, and that that the project is X number of dollars, and that the club is going to receive X number of dollars as a grant from the district, right, in support of that project. So I'm looking at it from the project point of view. I'm looking at, what does this look like from your gaming bank account? The club is not writing a check to the district or the foundation, right? I'm assuming the club is the one responsible for the project. And I think, we already discussed that they will have all the invoices, etc. I just want to know, it doesn't matter to me how you got the grant to do the project. It just matters to me that you have this other non-gaming source of revenue to assist with the overall cost of that project.
Okay,
Now,
very good.
you can make a donation to the foundation, providing the purpose of the donation is eligible, right? You cannot make a donation to the district or the foundation for them to turn around and send the money directly back to you. That's kind of laundering gaming funds, right? So
let me ask you a follow-up on that then. So
pardon me.
one of the things that Rotary clubs can do, that Rotary International asks them to consider, is making a contribution, a club level contribution to polio.
Yes.
Would that be eligible for AGLC with AGLC dollars?
100%. So if you're making that contribution to, I'm not sure who you make the contribution to, my apologies, the $500, Rotary Foundation, to assist with, their supportive polio research, etc., that is 100% eligible.
And that would be bound by the requirements to donate to a cap within Canada.
So it's not a cap. It's only a cap where that you can do that up to $10,000 without prior approval. A lot of groups think, oh, that's as much as we can donate. No, you can donate infinite amounts of money. It's just that some may require my stamp.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. All right. We're almost done with questions. So my good friend Sharon Moffat, who's down the road from me in Red Deer, I'm going to share a statement. This is actually a skill testing question for you, Leslie.
Oh no.
Are you ready? Here we go.
I don't know. It's pretty late.
Well, here we go. This should be
Okay.
an easy one. So
Okay.
Sharon tells us that you can apply for a Chase the Ace type of gaming license. And that license will expire when someone wins. So
I have
that you
such
don't
great news.
so that you don't need to have a weekly license for your 50/50.
I'm so excited to share this information. So not only did we have some major changes April 1st on our charitable gaming policy, but well, you know, we made a few more tweaks to raffle terms and conditions in March. So Chase the Ace has always been a bit of a problem because yes, and I don't know if everybody understands what Chase the Ace is. But essentially it's a progressive raffle. So, hypothetically, groups will sell tickets over the course of the week. They'll do a draw. The winner will receive a minimum 20% of the ticket sales that took place over the course of the week. But that winner now has an opportunity to select a card or an envelope, hoping that the one they select will be, let's just say, the ace of whatever. And then they're the winner. If they don't select the right card, the right envelope, then they walk away with their 20%, but usually 30% of the ticket revenue will carry over to the next draw, and so on and so on and so on. So as soon as there's a winner, could be week 2, it could be week 50. I've seen it all. As soon as they're a winner of the pot, the license was concluded, it was done, it was over, and the charity then had to pull a brand new license for the next go round. This has been very challenging for both small and large raffles. Pardon me. So what can be done now is that under one license, and you can actually pull the license for 2 years, and you can just continue those events under one license until the license expires. So there's no more having to pull a brand new license after every single win. You just continue under the same license number until essentially the end of the license period.
I think you just made Sharon's evening. All right.
Well, I was very excited to share that.
All right,
Pardon me.
Leslie, I think I see only one more question left. Here it is. Is there an online listing of the AGLC registered charities?
Sort of. It is on the website. And I'm trying to remember. It is under it's kind of tucked away, and you'd have to search. And I can't think of the phrase. My deepest apologies. It's not a complete listing of all groups that are registered with AGLC. No. But there is a way to search for particular groups, and with filters that would be casinos or bingos or things like that. So it's not under what we heard. I will find it. My deepest apologies, and I'll share it. And that you can all take a look, but it is on our website, but it is not a list of all eligible charities currently registered with AGLC. Understand, you know, in all different aspects, we have over 15,000 charities across the province that we deal with. And so, yeah, if you're making a donation and you're not sure whether or not that recipient group is an AGLC registered group, we simply say, ask them,
Mhm.
and then ask for their AGLC ID number. It's the best recommendation I can give you.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. One question snuck in here. Last one. Does every volunteer at a casino have to sign a form or just the 5 key positions?
Okay, I'm going out on a limb because my casino's a little rusty, but I'm pretty sure that it's only the volunteers working in the key positions.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. All right, Leslie, I think you're off the hook. You did a great job answering all of our questions. Before I got involved, people were saying your presentation felt like it only took 5 minutes. I got involved and they're probably thinking it took forever. So anyway, thank you for your time. I'll turn it back to Vince.
Hey, thank you for herding the cats, Darcy. You did really, really well. Leslie, thank you for giving us a special gift, and that was the gift of your time. And it was supposed to be 1 hour, and you gave us an extra half hour. Thank you for being so kind and so gracious. It was a wealth of information. I'm sure everybody really, really got an awful lot out of this session. And again, I use the term tape. That's old school. It's being recorded. Thanks, Darcy. So. Again, thank you everyone for your attendance, your patience, your participation. Great questions. And Leslie, go forth and have a wonderful holiday.
Well, thank you very, very much. And I really appreciate being invited to share with you tonight. And honestly, if there was a lot of information covered tonight in a very short period of time. So if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to us.
All right. Thank you again. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, Vince. Thanks, Darcy. And thank you so much, Leslie. That was
You're
awesome.
very welcome.
Now I look forward to seeing way more Rotarians at district conference. Woohoo!
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.